There's a study out of JAMA that followed almost 800 people on Tirzepatide for 2 years. Half stayed on the drug, half got switched to a placebo with no warning. And 1 year later, the placebo group had regained 14% of their body weight, and it didn't come back the same way it left. So today, I'm not just telling you my story, I'm showing you the actual data on why staying off this roller coaster after 60 might be the hardest, but the most important part of this whole thing. So, without getting too technical, Tirzepatide has a 5-day half-life. So within 2 to 3 weeks of stopping the drug, it is completely out of your system. No more, gonzo. The second it clears, Ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, spikes. And leptin, the I'm full hormone, drops. And this is where all that food noise that we've been talking about comes roaring back to the forefront. Now, it's important to note that this is not some surprise event that happens. It's not a failure of willpower. It's a predictable physiological response to taking yourself off of Tirzepatide. That drug, it was blocking a signal, but now that signal, it makes it through. Now, I want to read you something from a study that was done. Surmount-4. 783 people lost approximately 21% of their body weight in the first 36 weeks, and then they were split into 2 groups. Placebo group gained 14% in a year. The group that stayed on the drug lost another 5.5% of their body weight. The gap between the 2 groups by week 88, 19.4 points. 89.5% of the people who stayed on it kept at least 80% of their loss, and only 16.6% of the placebo group did. Now, I remember back around week 3 or 4 of being on this drug, and I had a moment where I was standing at the cabinet. I saw a bag of Doritos up on the top shelf, looked like it had been there for quite a while, and I went to reach for it. But then something inside my head said, nah, you don't really want that. Don't mess up all the work that you've done so far. It made me think about it. If I can feel this way while on the drug, what's going to happen when I'm off the drug? Am I going to just regain all the weight that I lost and all that hard work is going to be for nothing? It was a sincere fear of mine because this is the make or break for me. This weight has to go and it has to stay off. That's as simple as it is. I can't say it any more cleanly than that. Now, when you lose weight quickly, it is never just fat. If you have a DEXA scan done of your body while you're losing weight, 75% of what's lost is fat and 25% of what's lost is lean muscle tissue. At higher doses, that's nearly an 11% drop in total lean body mass. That's not good because you need muscle in order to burn more fat. Now, when you get off this drug, the weight that you gain back skews towards fat. That's right. So your body composition, if you're not careful, could actually be worse after Tirzepatide than before it. Now, that's a big setup for sarcopenic obesity, and at our age, that is not a good thing. That now means that we're going to have some joint issues, balance issues, risks of fall, and losing our independence. I don't know about you, but being independent is extremely important to me at this age. I don't want nobody taking care of me. There's been a study done of GLP-1 drugs, and you do lose some bone density. The hip and spine bone density drops about 2 to 2.6%. Now you stack that on top of the already problematic bone density loss after the age of 60, and you're looking at a potential for a broken hip. Now, did you know any of this was going on? Does it change your outlook at all? Does it make you think differently about any of it? Just watching the scale, it doesn't really tell you everything that's going on, does it? Now, there's a very common recommendation of 0.8 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. But see, that's ridiculous at our age. It doesn't work. As you age, muscle becomes more anabolic resistant. And that means you need more protein in order to maintain and potentially build more muscle. It's just a scientific fact. At our age, you need 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of lean body weight in order to maintain the muscle that you have. That's going to amount to about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal that you eat each day. If all you're eating is 10 grams at breakfast and 10 grams at lunch and spreading it out that thin, it's not helping you at all. That protein just gets burned for fuel. It doesn't help build muscle. Now you're also going to need about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams daily of calcium and 600 to 800 IU of vitamin D every single day. Weight training, it's not optional here. This is something you have to do. It's one of those levers that needs to be pulled at our age to maintain muscle. Now for me, I'm trying to eat over 300 grams of protein a day. And so I end up filling that with things like protein shakes and meat snacks. I've also switched to going to the gym just 2 days a week instead of 4. And I know that sounds kind of counterproductive, but my body wasn't recovering. And so what was happening was I'd get in the gym, I'd do a 3 or 4 day a week workout. And after about week 3, I couldn't go back to the gym for 3 or 4 weeks. I'd injure myself, something would happen. But by switching to just 2 days a week, I'm starting to see more results than I got before. Because now I'm recovering and I'm able to consistently go to the gym. And one of the big things about gym time is the consistency. Now the FDA approved maintenance doses for tirzepatide are 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, or 15 milligrams. 2.5 milligrams was never meant to be the long-term number. It was always meant for starting, not staying. Your real goal should be to find the lowest amount you can take every week and still see the inches come off in your waistline. Now I know some of you try to save money by stretching the doses out to 10 or 14 days. So maybe only do 3 doses a month instead of 4. But that's not a good thing because by week 2, it is far less effective than it was in week 1. At that point, you're only keeping about 75% of the drug's effectiveness. You also trigger those rebound hunger cycles that we talked about. If you're worrying about side effects or cost, the lower dose is more important than spacing it out. Now for me, it took me 2 months before I increased my dose. I was seeing continual weight loss in the first 6 weeks. By week 7, I was flat from week 6 to week 7. Now that didn't really concern me so much because that was also particularly a week where I didn't do my cardio as much as I should. And so a lot of it I took the blame for myself. I didn't put the blame on the dose of the medication. So that's when I told my doctor to up the dose, but just a little bit. And he's very conservative on this, and I like that about him. We work together on these issues. Now, if you ever need to get off of this drug for some reason, maybe there's some debilitating side effects or some other reason that you must get off the drug, please remember not to just immediately stop because that's what causes the hunger rebound effect. You really need to taper yourself off of this drug. That looks like 8 to 16 weeks of intentionally lowering the dose until you're finally off the drug. Now, if you're on higher doses, you could probably step the doses down over a 12-week period. Then you could go from 10 to 5 to 2.5. But keep a check on it. Now, if you've lost more than 20% of your body weight, you're at a higher risk. And so doctors might stretch that out to 16 or even 18 weeks. Now, as you taper off, having a high protein, high fiber meal and continuing your gym routine are the keys to the success. They're going to keep you going in the right direction. Those things are the bridge to do what the medication was doing. Now, interestingly, doctors are treating this more like a statin or a blood pressure drug. They think of it as something you're on and you're going to be on it probably forever. My own doctor calls it a miracle drug, and he says more people should be on it. Some people I've talked to claim that there's studies that people should be microdosing this stuff. I don't know anything about that, but what I do know is that I've heard that it is a long-term deal. Be prepared for that. For me, I'm prepared to stay on this drug for the long haul. At my age and my weight, diabetes becomes a concern. I'm actually pre-diabetic at the moment. And so with the health issues that I have, I think staying on this drug for the long haul is probably going to be what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about a taper at this point. Now, doctors use what they call the 5M framework when monitoring older adults on this drug. Mind, mobility, medications, multi-complexity, and matters most. They're looking at your mindset. They're looking at how things are moving. They're looking at what matters the most to you. Is it health numbers? Is it the scale? Is it the body fat percentage? They're going to track those things because as long as you're on target with that, they're going to keep you where you're at. Now, the early warning signs are a few pounds creep back in, you start missing gym days, and you just overall, you can tell that you're gaining back that weight. The old cravings are sneaking in, and maybe you're even giving into them once in a while, or more than once in a while, depending on who you are. Researchers say that you should give yourself a predetermined number. If I get back to 7% of my body weight gained back, then I have to do something about it. For me, that's exactly what I do. If I'm gaining back 5% of what was my lowest weight, so if I get down to 200 pounds and I gain back 10 pounds, I got to take action. Now, the point here is not about being perfect. It's about paying attention so that 3 pounds that you gain back don't become 30 pounds. That's the key. You got to pay attention to this stuff. Of course, the benefits are that you sleep better, the blood pressure stays down, and the other health issues are resolved. Being stable with those numbers is the prize now. So, all right, let's get real here. If you're like me, you've tried all the different diets, all the crazy diets. You've probably been on keto. You've probably been on paleo. Who knows what you've tried? Some people have tried the velocity diet where you just drink protein shakes for 21 days straight. I've done that before. They go in the carnivore diet where you eat nothing but meat. I've done that before. Guys, it's never been about any of those things. It's also never been a willpower problem. It's been a systems problem. You have to have an approach that enables you to keep an eye on what you've been doing and make sure that it's still working for you and that you're not letting things get out of control. And if things start to go in the wrong direction, your system helps you keep an eye on that. So guys, before we close out this video, I want you to think about what I said today. I want you to set your own guardrails. Make sure you're thinking about what your own goals are. My percentage is 5%, maybe yours is 10%. It all depends on how you feel about it. But make sure you're working your system and that you're staying on top of the numbers that you're producing. Here's the truth the research actually backs up. Losing the weight was never really the hard part. Not for me and not in the data. The hard part, the part almost nobody makes a video about, is everything that happens after the scale stops moving. So I'm building my system now on purpose with intentionality instead of waiting until I'm already back on the ride. If you're on the same road on Tirzepatide, thinking about maintenance and worried about regaining at our age, tell me down in the comments what your actual plan is. Or if you haven't thought about it yet, tell me that too. I want to know that I'm not the only one thinking about this. Hit subscribe if you're building your own off-ramp too, and I'll see you in the next video.